Okay, things are getting a little bit cluttered up around here, but I did get the new fork tubes in. There's no pitting or anything on those ones. Here are the old ones. You can look right there, you can see the pitting there. Like I said, that's well above the fork seals, so I will save those for another job. Who knows, I may come across another Atlas or something. As long as it has covered forks, you could use those forks right there, because you wouldn't be able to see the pitting, and the pitting is actually above where the seal rides, so they're quite usable. Anyway, like I said, I got the new forks. What I really wanted to show you here, mostly on this one, is how that, I hope that'll focus in there good. There we go. You can see that that gray colored bushing on the end of that forks is held on there by nothing more than a snap ring. Now that's a good substantial snap ring, but the thing is that if that snap ring isn't firmly seated in its groove, there is a possibility, be it extremely remote, that those forks could come apart on the rebound, and you certainly wouldn't want that to happen when you're riding. You've all seen what happens to fellas on chopper bicycles when you jam two sets of forks together and they come apart. Well, anyway, you wouldn't want that happening to you here. But what I like to do after I've got that snap ring in place is just pinch it ever so lightly in the jaws of the vise, so that that little gap at the end of the snap ring closes up to about 3/16 of an inch. That way you know that snap ring is really well seated in there. That's what you want to see. Anyway, let's carry on with this job. Yeah, I'm going to be using these leak-proof fork seals in this bike. I know a lot of people don't really want to use these or don't like them, but I've used them a lot in a lot of different bikes that I've put together, and I've never had any kind of problem with them. You know, they do go together a little bit differently sometimes than your classic fork seal would go in, but and they are supposed to move up and down in the bore. Actually, it's part of the way they're supposed to seal. Anyways, I'll be using those. Like, some people don't like them, other people love them. I'm on the like them side. I use them quite often. Anyway, that's what I'm going to be using for seals. Quite simple to install. Well, I'm fluttering around here today just like a butterfly, going from flower to flower. Anyways, I started fiddling around with the prime forks. Then Charlie had given me some other old forks that he had just to look at. I checked those ones out. They're not bent, but they're they're too messed up to use, even in the covered forks. So I'm not doing anything with them. That would just be a waste of time. But anyways, I did set the valves, and I decided to get the covers back on this Royal Enfield. I had some problems with, let me think, this one was okay, all the studs were in place, all the bolts and nuts were fine. This one had a strip stud in there. What they had done was somebody had put it in backwards, so the coarse thread was on the outside and the fine thread was on the inside, so it chewed up the thread on inside the cylinder head there. So anyway, I did manage to clean that up enough that I made up a replacement stud for it, a little bit longer, and I put that in place. So that's working well now. But what else did I run into? Didn't have any problems with the right intake side, but the left one here, I had a couple of issues here. This particular one was stripped down here in the head. So there's two ways I could have approached that. I could have made an oversized stud to screw into the hole, but hey, why bother with that when you've got the little helicoil kits? So anyway, I was able to drill that out and put a helicoil kit in it. But this one up here is another story. The stud is actually broken off in the head, and someone at some time in the past drilled a hole in the middle of it. I suspect they were trying to get it out with an easy out. That name is a bit of an oxymoron because I've never seen anything come out very easy with them things. But, you know, sometimes it does. But anyway, they didn't drill into the center of the bolt and went off to the side. So when you try to get an easy out in there, you know, half of it's in the broken stud and the other half is chewing away at the cylinder head. So that's going to have to live the way it is for now. If I do take the cylinder head off of this bike, especially if I do the whole top end, I'll look after that problem then. I'll get that broken stud out of there and I'll helicoil it. Meanwhile, I'll just have to put a little bit of extra sealant around those gaskets when I tighten them up. And here's something that I wanted to bring up. I have worked on hundreds of different types of engines. Diesels, two-stroke diesels, four-stroke diesels, car engines, boat engines, motorcycle engines, airplane engines even, but I've never worked on an engine that had the valve adjusting lock nut underneath the rocker arm like that. That's a really strange way to do it because the only thing you can get on there to tighten it up is the flats on an open-ended wrench, right? And these valve adjusters are 5/16 of an inch. They're quite large, so you've got a lot of reciprocating mass when it comes to moving that around, and yet you have aluminum valve caps there on top of these valves. So anyway, I just thought something really weird, something I've never seen before on any other engine in my life. So yeah, just when you think you've seen it all, something else pops up. There, that little job is done. Valve covers are back on. This one does not have a stud, so anyways, I had to make do with a little bit of extra gasket sealer in under that area there, but I'm pretty sure it'll be just fine. I don't think it'll leak. There's not an awful lot of oil that splashes around up here in the top end on these things anyway, but anyhow, like I say, if I get the chance to take that head off of there, why, I'll repair that broken stud in there then. Meanwhile, that's good enough for now. Oh, what else did I want to mention? Oh, yes, I had to vacuum away all the drillings where I put the helicoil under this one here. So I had to get right down inside in the valve pocket there as well. So anyways, I took my old shop vac and just stuck a little piece of plastic hose on there, taped it up, and hey, that worked a treat. It sucked all those aluminum flakes right out of there. So anyway, that worked good. Now what's next today? I believe I have to I have to clean up the workbench first. That's what I got to do. But that's an axle from a bike for a friend of mine. He's building this really crazy looking chopper. It was supposed to be a digger when he started off, but I guess it looks a little bit like a digger. But anyway, the fellow that was doing most of the work, he does lovely work, but it wasn't quite what a digger's supposed to look like. Anyway, it's slowly getting together, so I'll look after that for my friend Mike. He's the guy where we were out to his place working on the B44, and I got to make up a couple of chain adjuster bolts too out of these nice stainless steel Allen bolts. So I'll get there. I think I'll do these things next, and I'll call it a day after I finish machining that. So like I say, I'm fluttering around like a butterfly today all over the place. Pretty ugly butterfly though. Okay, that's about enough for today. I think the clock on the wall says 5 to 9, so yeah, that's not 5 to 9 in the morning, that's 5 to 9 in the evening. Anyways, like I said, today I've been bouncing around from one little job to the next. Anyway, that's enough for tonight. I've got those two axle adjuster bolts made up for my old buddy's chopper there, and I made up a new axle. That's made of cold rolled steel, and this is the axle it came with. This one here it's got a metric a metric thread on the end of it. I decided to go with a standard 3/4 16 UNF on this one because two reasons. I didn't want to set the lathe up to cut a metric thread. I can do it on that machine, but it would probably take me another half an hour just to change the gears and stuff to do that, and it's so much easier just to use the setup that's already on the machine to cut standard threads. So anyway, new axle, old axle. Only difference is the new one's 3/4 of an inch longer. Alright, and like I say, there's the two little adjuster bolts. The threads weren't long enough on these bolts, so I just chased them the rest of the way down with the lathe, and anyway, those will work good. So I think Mike will be happy with that. I just wanted to mention before I sign off tonight, there's a lot of good people out there, especially from this area, doing these little videos and stuff. And I wanted to mention my old shipmate Gus Cameron. He's got a channel that's called This Old Chopper. So if you want to see, somebody building that sort of thing, check him out. He's got some pretty good videos and some pretty cool stuff going on, especially if you like hippie killers. Anyway, there's another buddy of mine too I wanted to mention, Adam Burton. He's got a YouTube channel called ERCN Garage. Stands for East Coast Redneck. So if you want to watch an East Coast redneck doing a bunch of different jobs, he works on motorcycles, cars, a whole bunch of different stuff. So if you're interested in seeing what a Cape Brettoner does on the weekend for something to do, tune into ERCN Garage. Anyway, that's enough for this little video. I think next time I will probably finish off the forks and get the tires mounted. I do have a friend of mine up the road who promised that he'd put the tires on for me. I like to put them on myself, at least I know it's done right. But this guy up here, he's been doing it long enough that he should know what he's doing, and he's got a tire changing machine too, so that makes it a lot easier, than the way I do it. But anyway, we'll see what I feel like. If I get lazy and I want him to do it, I'll just bring them up there. The next thing to do on the Royal Enfield, I think, will be to probably take off the timing chest cover, because the seal that keeps the oil out of the ignition points apparently has been leaking. That is the reason why he told me that he stopped driving it 35 years ago, because it was getting embarrassing. He said he could only go so far with it, and then he'd have to pull over the side of the road, clean the oil out of the ignition points, and then go another 10 or 15 miles. So I think that's a pretty important thing for me to do next on that bike. But anyway, like I said, I'm still waiting for a couple of little things to come in on those forks. I did decide that I would change the bushings on the top, so they should be here pretty soon. They're only coming from England, and stuff tends to arrive pretty quickly when you order from those guys. So anyway, thanks for watching. Keep an eye on things. I'll keep you posted. You can like, share, and subscribe if you want to. That'd be just great. And anyways, and until next time, toodly-doo.